moment to place your name in the chat. We'll be selecting the winner from those names in the chat toward the end of our program, but you must still be present in order to win. I'm pleased now to introduce Scott Crowder, the Director of the Office of Outdoor Recreation Industry Development for the state of New Hampshire. Crowder has extensive professional experience in recreation management, marketing, and economic development. For more than a decade, he served as commissioner of the Pond Hockey Classic, was principal of ECAL Consulting, overseeing marketing, web design, and creative services, as well as event consulting and execution. He was a founding partner of ECAL Activity Center in Meredith. Crowder has also served on various tourism, economic development, and nonprofit boards around the state.
Great, Tom. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you today. We have an exciting session ahead of us with some amazing panelists and a wonderful moderator. I'd like to thank New Hampshire Energy Week for putting a great week of programming together and for inviting me to connect with all of you today. I just wanted to take a few minutes before the session to introduce myself and the newest office dedicated outdoor recreation here in New Hampshire. My name is Scott Crowder. I'm the director of the newly established Outdoor Recreation Industry Development Office for the state of New Hampshire. With the creation of this office, New Hampshire is the 16th state to add such an office. This just validates the role that outdoor recreation has within the state of New Hampshire, and obviously further shows a commitment to the industry that the state has. Some of my responsibilities will include coordinating policy pertaining to outdoor recreation and conservation and stewardship, management and promotion of our outdoor recreation amenities and natural assets at the local, state, and federal levels, as well as promoting job growth through collaboration with stakeholders and economic development partners throughout the state. As we all know, outdoor recreation is not a new thing here in New Hampshire. It is ingrained in the daily lives of our residents. It's the driving force behind our travel and tourism industry. It's also the tip of the spear, revitalizing many of our wonderful communities, like we'll learn a little bit more today about Franklin and what Marty has going on there. Numbers wise, I mean, about 37,000 people are employed from the outdoor recreation industry alone, and that accounts, the industry on a whole accounts for about 3.2% of the state's GDP. That comes down from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, which a few years ago from the Outdoor Industry Association finally pushed that bureau to identify outdoor recreation as a driver of economic force, and the numbers are pretty staggering there. A good thing with New Hampshire is we already have so many wonderful organizations and businesses doing amazing work, from the AMC to the Northern Forest Center, Society for New Hampshire Forests, to Commissioner Stewart's group with the NCR, the Trails Bureau and State Parks. We have companies like Nemo in Dover and Adventure Ready Brands up in Littleton that are manufacturing products right here in New Hampshire for people to get outdoors and enjoy themselves. We obviously have a wide range of retailers like REI and EMS and Bass Pro Shops, and also smaller outfits like Summer Sessions on the Seacoast or Lahoots up north that provide us with the gear we need to get out there and have some fun. The other thing that I think a lot of people think of with outdoor recreation is that it's only the outdoor recreation specific businesses. The exciting thing is we have businesses that choose to do business here in New Hampshire because we offer such a combination of a vibrant and diversified economy with an outdoor lifestyle that's really unmatched on the East Coast. So my focus as the director of the Outdoor Recreation Office is to really act as a strategic convener between all of these groups to bring these organizations, municipalities, nonprofit groups, private businesses together to further develop and enhance the outdoor recreation industry and economy. As my friend from the Granite Outdoor Alliance, Tyler Ray, likes to say, is the rising tide lifts all ships. We have an amazing opportunity here to band together as an outdoor recreation collective to solve the problems that face our industry, but also to position our state to prosper. Really excited about the panel today. I'm going to slide over and join all of you guys in the audience and listen in. But I've been going on a little bit of a listening tour since I took this position to really gain an understanding. So what I'll do is I'll drop my email in the chat session here. Feel free to reach out to me. My goal is to really get a good understanding of the landscape before we start to move forward with building the foundation of what this Outdoor Recreation Industry Development Office will do for New Hampshire. Thank you all for the time, and I think I'm passing this back to Tom.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it. I'm pleased now to introduce our moderator for today. Sarah Stewart was sworn in as Commissioner of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources in June of 2018. Prior to that, she ran her own consulting business and provided strategic advice to causes and organizations important to her both locally and nationally. Clean energy, the arts, and marriage equality, just to name a few. Sarah lives with her husband, Chris, and their 3 children in Manchester, and in her spare time folds laundry and packs lunches.
Thank you, Tom. It's true. That is an accurate bio. Thank you. And welcome, Scott, to your new role in this state. I look forward to meeting with you in person and collaborating as we move forward. So I'm here at Throwback Brewery in Northampton, and I'm thrilled to honor Earth Day today with such great company, some thoughtful conversation, and a really good beer. So while this is a virtual event, that is a real beer that I will be enjoying as we move forward this evening. As Commissioner of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, I oversee 5 divisions: the Division of Parks and Recreation, the Division of Forests and Lands, the Division of Historical Resources, the State Library, and the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts. Our mission is to protect, preserve, promote, and manage the state's natural and cultural resources, supporting our high quality of life and strengthening the experiences of our residents and guests. So I too will be listening intently to this conversation, as it really all does tie together. But we have a lot to cover in this hour, so I would like to jump right into introducing our panelists. And I will start with our first panelist, who is it Mark? We are starting with Shannon Rogers, of the Extension Professor and Nature-Based Economic Development State Specialist at the UNH Cooperative Extension. Welcome, Shannon.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Commissioner Stewart. So nice to be joining you all. My background is not as exciting as the commissioners, but I'm so proud to be here at UNH in our Cooperative Extension program. I sit in our Community and Economic Development team, and I also get to work with great students and teach on campus and support our communities in New Hampshire around something that we call nature economy, which is basically, what has the environment done for you lately? Yeah, great, thank you. And I have just a few slides with some pictures just to tell some stories about the work that we do. So I'm originally from New Hampshire, so happy to be able to come back and work in the state. And I grew up, with this natural capital. I think we're all kind of familiar with financial capital and maybe even human capital, but nature provides us with goods and services, and oftentimes we can quantify that and use it in decision making. My training's as an ecological economist, and I really like to work with communities to help them, quantify some of these benefits, think about how to connect nature to their economic development goals. My colleagues in community and economic development have worked for many years with New Hampshire communities and seen that, they have these great assets. Right here, we have a picture of downtown Nashua with the river flowing right through the downtown, a great place to sit and look at the beautiful, water, the foliage. There's lots of research that shows we all benefit, physically and psychologically from being in nature. So we have a number of programs. I'll do next slide, please. Where we help communities leverage this natural capital to create vibrant economies. And this can include lots of different things. So right here we have a picture of Bristol that is part of the Newfound Lake watershed. We have worked with them on their trails, but most importantly, connecting those trails to their village center and goals they have to create a vibrant both visitor economy and economy for their year-round residents and seasonal residents. And we go through an assessment process and then help them work towards action or support their goals towards those better connections. Next slide, please. And one thing that is really important in all of this work is inclusion, being aware that nature and the outdoors sometimes is not as accessible to everyone in our communities, and anything we can do to better support that in a really strategic and thoughtful way is something that we're trying to work with communities on at that local scale. So thinking about how this work frames around energy was really exciting because, you know, we are often working with communities kind of thinking at that broad scale of how do we be more sustainable, but how do we keep our economy growing, being more welcoming to all, young, old, in between. And one aspect that, you know, connects to energy, those are often woven through those discussions. Energy comes in many different places. So one example is walkability and trails, thinking about, here's a bike path, thinking about, you know, those as opportunities for recreation, absolutely, and absolutely for our tourists, but also as a way for individuals without cars or who want to reduce their car use to connect to different communities via trail, or to connect from one part of community to another via the trail. Next slide, please. And then some other examples, we have many communities that are integrating solar or renewable energy into their discussions about how to be more economically vibrant and how to connect better with their natural assets. Here's a picture of, again, Bristol, New Hampshire. This is their library, which happens to be on their bike path that we help work with them on in our Downtowns and Trails program. And the library plays a really amazing role in this community, and it really is a connector for visitors, for residents, a place for information. If you get off the trail, often folks are stopping in there to use the restroom. Restrooms are key in nature-based economic development and keeping people in your communities, but also to get information. Like we just got off the bike path, or we were just at the lake, took the bike path in. What can we do? Where's the brewery? Where do we get ice cream? Is there somewhere we can stay overnight? The library staff actually plays a really key role in welcoming visitors, and they do it all under this great solar array. Next slide, please. Keeping an eye on my time, I'm trying to. And then just some other examples. We do see other energy. This is, again, Nashua on the river that has a really interesting river front development plan, the only one I've seen in New Hampshire. And it has 2 hydropower dams as part of that whole consideration. So thinking about, as communities turn back to rivers, right? Many have built up with their backs to river, gone from a mill town to now more of these river towns. What roles do certain types of energy play in those? And then just one last slide, please. Thinking about, again, that connectivity. This is Derry, New Hampshire. You have the rail trail here on the left-hand side, and the nice downtown. You have the Rail Trail Cafe, which actually popped up because of the presence of the rail trail. A business, an entrepreneur saw that as an opportunity. When she was riding the trail, there was no good coffee, so she decided to open her own. And so we see actually businesses and entrepreneurs looking at nature and the outdoors as a location factor for businesses. So excited to be here with you all. I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Shannon. You'll notice some doodling on the slides, and I just want to say that that's because there was a permission to allow viewers to annotate some of the slides. So if you could please not touch the slides, we're going to try to erase what you see. But thanks for your enthusiasm, I guess I'll say. We're going to turn now to Nicole Carrier right here at Throwback Brewery. She's in her own office. I can almost see her from here. Nicole, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Doodling, nice job on the doodling. I'd like to say it's pretty artistic. Do you want to go to the next slide? This is me, Nicole. I'm the co-founder and president of Throwback. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are a brewery and a restaurant and a farm all wrapped into one. And what we're really all about is trying to make food and beer from local ingredients. July will actually mark our 10-year anniversary of 10-year birthday of selling beer, which is kind of crazy. It's gone by really fast. We started in a small warehouse, and then we moved on our 4th birthday to a 12-acre farm. You can see here behind the beer what our farm looks like. We rehabbed an 1860s barn and put the restaurant in the brewery. And Sarah's actually sitting in the brewery, which is what that picture shows right there. So next slide, talk a little bit about the farm. That's Jane. I like this picture because we have a beer called Donkey Odie, which is our double IPA, and Jane's a donkey. And anyways, I think it's kind of funny. So, we do have a full farm. In the height of the summer, we grow about 50% of our produce for the restaurant. So we really are a true farm to table restaurant. We do have donkeys just for fun. They're a riot. We have ducks, pigs are coming soon, small hop yard and orchard. And this is going to be our 3rd year of doing a CSA, so community supported agriculture as well. On the next slide, since we've opened, we've been pretty open and vocal about our values as a company and our mission. And one of our stated values is really all about loving our community and our planet. So it's not, I mean, it's about, like most breweries, we're trying to make our community more vibrant and stronger, but it's also about being sustainability minded and committed to really minimizing our negative impact on the environment. So we do that in a number of ways. I'm happy to expand on that as we get farther, but the most visual thing, if you ever visit Throwback, we have a 48 kilowatt solar array that you can see right as you walk into the property. And we are really working on our full circle of sustainability. So, you know, grain goes to pigs, pigs come into the restaurant, people enjoy sausage that we make here and drink beer, which makes us create more grain. So this whole full circle that we're trying to work on. Next slide. For those of you wondering, like, the heck's a brewery doing here on a recreation call? I actually think the two of them go hand in hand. Well, both recreation and beer and breweries are really tourist type of destinations, and they're also both really community based, right? So I don't know about you, but I love hitting the ski slopes or like going mountain biking, hiking with my buddies, and at the end we always want to go to a community oriented spot like a brewery and relax and kick back and have a beer and have a bunch of laughs together and really just relax and catch up. And I know these are pre-COVID dreams, but I still remember like that used to happen, right? So so that's really how beer and outdoor recreation intersect. And in New Hampshire, I mean, we're so lucky, like we have an embarrassment of riches in terms of all of the outdoor recreation activities that we have possible in terms of lakes and mountains and ocean and everything in between. And I think I have one more slide. Yeah, and I used to be the president of the New Hampshire Brewers Association. Now Jeff from Schilling is, but the organization is really great. It supports a bunch of breweries in the state, and we just came out with a new campaign that'll become more prevalent and hopefully more visible over the next couple of months. And it's called Your Next Beer is Here. And if you notice, like the N and the H is popped out a little bit just to represent New Hampshire. And the whole point of this is to get consumers to think about where their next beer is and where their next beer is. And obviously that will be New Hampshire and some of not only our breweries, but also like in some of our great destinations like mountains, as long as you leave no trace. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about how beer and tourism intersect, and pass it on back to Sarah.
Thank you. And I'm enjoying the cheek squeezer.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
It's very good. Thank you, Nicole. Let's turn to Jessica Keeler, who is the president of Ski New Hampshire. Jessica.
Hi, thank you. Start my video there. Thanks. Just got to say, Nicole, I love the names of your beers. Fantastic. And I can't wait to come down and meet Jane the donkey. I love the Donkey Odie beer. That's fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick overview of what Ski New Hampshire is. A lot of people don't really know what we are. Basically, we are the state's trade association for ski areas. We currently have 15 alpine members and 15 cross-country members throughout the state. And as far as what we do, I basically break it down into 3 categories. So one of those would be advocacy and government relations items as it pertains to supporting the ski industry. We do a lot of like networking and educational events on a whole host of different topics for our ski area members. And then we also do a certain amount of marketing and communications work as well, and, you know, kind of help promote New Hampshire as a destination for people to come ski and recreate. Let's see, next slide, please. And as far as energy, you know, this is New Hampshire Energy Week, and I'm really proud that Ski New Hampshire has been a partner in putting this whole event together. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about our relationship with energy, the ski industry's relationship with energy, because it's definitely been a very long one. And snowmaking really is the crux of what our energy use is. So on that note, you know, snowmaking has been something that has been of interest to ski areas for a very long time. In fact, there are records of the Toronto Ski Club looking for ways to make snow as early as like the late 1930s, and they had partnered with a local ice arena to get the shavings to try and like cover their slopes with it because it was a bad snow year. You know, and in New England, we know that we have some bad snow years. So this has been going on for a really long time. And so pretty much for as long as there's been a ski industry, there's been a need for snowmaking. That said, we got to fast forward to the late 50s, to the season of 1957-58 for the first mountain in New Hampshire to install a snowmaking system, which was Black Mountain in Jackson. Today, however, snowmaking covers about 90% of New Hampshire's trails, which equals about 3,400 acres across the state. And snowmaking technology advances over the last 20 years have really come a long, long way in terms of making us much more efficient. In fact, we're seeing like energy savings of over 90% in those 20 years. So to put it another way, to make the same amount of snow, we're using 90% less energy than we used to. And we're also saving a lot of time to do it. So so we're making that snow really quickly. Some of you, those of you who have been skiing for some time probably have seen some of those old ground guns that we have. They're like a, kind of on a tripod, and they have these long noses, if you will. Those snow guns would use about 125 to 130 horsepower, whereas the new tall ones, like you can see in that picture, the new tower guns, they're much more energy efficient. They're using less than 10 horsepower. So really, snowmaking has come a long way over the last couple of decades, and it's really helped us save time and energy as far as like making a better product. Snowmaking energy expenses account for about 10 to 20% of an average ski area's operating budget. So, it's pretty significant. And in 2018, we did an estimate of, how much money had been put into upgrading our snowmaking systems over the prior 5 years. And we estimated that about $20 million had been spent throughout the state just during those 5 years to upgrade systems, which makes a big deal. So if a big difference in an operating budget. So if you're just looking at, 10 to 20% of your operating budget being related to the energy expense, upgrading your equipment adds like a whole other element to it. So it's a really important part of our industry. And the next slide, please. And then just to share a few more of the things that ski areas are doing, certainly the, as far as sustainability and stewardship goes, snowmaking is definitely the marquee thing that ski areas are doing as far as efficiency. That's where a lot of the technological innovations are, but there's a lot of other things that ski areas can and are doing. So those would include installing LED lighting in lodges, but also in like night skiing. There's a big opportunity there, especially for those ski areas that do night skiing. They're performing energy audits. A couple of them have installed EV chargers, and hopefully we're going to start seeing more of that in the future. They've implemented no idling policies. They're using, some of them have started using biodegradable or recycled food service items. Digital systems adoption, that also goes back to snowmaking, and some of these systems are really sophisticated and can help a ski area automate really, when the snowmaking happens based on temperature and humidity and other, factors. And then groomers and grooming techniques, and really like those groomers are really helpful in terms of creating a great surface. And they've got a lot of technology built into them too, so that they can create a good surface, using all that snow that's been made and, ensuring that we have like the best possible surface, and people are, expecting that now. So A couple other things too that I didn't have on there. We've seen some ski areas using or installing heat pumps in lodges or in some of the hotels they're building. Same with energy efficient pellet boilers. And actually one of our ski areas also has its own hydro generator that it uses to make power, which is pretty cool. So anyway, just wanted to run through that real quick, and I will hand it back to you, Commissioner.
Thanks so much. We are going to turn to Marty Parrishan, the founder of Outdoor New England and Mill City Park in Franklin. Marty, we expect a big splash from you today.
No water puns, right? Hi, everyone. Happy Earth Day. Thanks for having me. I wear a few different hats in the development of Franklin or in Franklin's kind of comeback story. There's so many good things going on in my community. It's hard to keep it to 4 minutes or 5 minutes, but I'll do my best. If we could go to the first slide. Or number 2, please. So in Franklin, what we're really doing is we're developing a destination based on human-powered activity. So this is just a copy of a brochure that Cooks and Communications did for us. But if I went around the room and told you that we have 150 miles of bike trails, 2 disc golf courses, 3 different rivers to paddle, a lake, 3 whitewater sections, a ski mountain, you would probably think we were in like Asheville, North Carolina, or someplace in Colorado that's known for being an outdoor destination. You certainly wouldn't think we're located in the geographic center of the state. If we move ahead one more, this is a little map of our community. Franklin is the birthplace of the Merrimack River. I really liked Shannon's comment about being a mill town. We're definitely not a mill town. We're a river town, right? And going way back when, the river's what put us on the map. The Winnipesaukee had 7 dams and mills on it. It was used for power. The first place actually in New Hampshire that made power from the river was in Franklin. Since then, that mill went decrepit, defunct, empty for years and years. And Catch Housing actually completed a $12 million housing project there a few years ago. So we're putting all of our eggs in this basket. And it's interesting to be here during Energy Week and Earth Day to talk to everyone, because if a community does this, puts their flag in the ground and say, we have these human-powered infrastructure, right, to have people come back time after time, and that is free, then it would be unauthentic to say that we don't support energy initiatives or don't support green initiatives. If we can move forward again. So with that, I'm going to circle around. If you've heard about Franklin's Whitewater Park, hopefully you didn't think it was all slides or Six Flags. What we're really talking about is not even building new rapids. It's just about building surf waves. So we've engineered 3 surf waves, 2 for whitewater kayakers, like the picture on the left, and 1 for river surfers. So for the first time in New England, you would be able to jump on a surfboard. And I kid you not, jump on a surfboard and surf 365 days a year in Franklin. Construction of our features starts this July. We'll build 1 whitewater feature or 1 kayaking feature this year, and then we'll build 2 next year. So the project will go on for 2 years total. But if we move to the next slide, it's not just about the river. The state of New Hampshire believes that if we build our whitewater park and this land-based park next to the river or adjacent to the whitewater park itself, then 160,000 new people come to Franklin and they spend about $7 million. So this land, basically what our nonprofit does is we collect the things that nobody wants. Nobody wanted to look at the river. Nobody wanted to repair the river, get the creosote soaked timbers out, get the rebar out. And this 13-acre plot of land had no use after international paper left 20 years ago. And so what we've done is put together this master plan with resilience planning and design out of Plymouth. And I'm excited to say it's already outdated. That bump out on the north corner, that's where we're working with Revision Energy for our solar field. So the solar field at that site will produce electricity both for the park, but we'll also be supplying it back to the grid. So the two pieces are obviously really important. They work together. Whitewater kayaking is, or whitewater rafting is not for everyone. A lot of people do not like the idea of being tied into a boat and being upside down going through rapids. That's not a fun thing for everyone. And so when we think about destination development, we have to really understand what are the other people doing, right? If 160,000 new people are coming to Franklin, maybe 20% of them are getting in the water, then we have a lot of people moving around Franklin. So what our nonprofit's done is we've tried to offset that pedestrian load. We've also tried to stay within our niche of, we call them lifestyle sports. So climbing, mountain biking, whitewater kayaking, those are sports that the participants will travel to do, right? I mean, it's part of the reason Littleton gets a ton of people going to Parker Mountain, or Highland Mountain Bike Park sees a ton of people, because when that clientele goes on vacation, they're going to do their favorite activity. And so we've offset that with this community park that's free, but it is prioritizing mountain bike pump track or climbing wall over a baseball field or a basketball court, which is pretty exciting. I think I will kick it back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you. It is very exciting. Congratulations on all of the hard work that's gone into such a diverse outdoor recreation opportunity and community. I'm also happy to learn that you sought LWCF grants for this project, the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is managed by staff at the DNCR. So I feel a connection there, and I'm going to have to come up and do a tour.
You will have to. Absolutely.
I'm excited. So I'm going to ask my first question to my host today, Nicole. Nicole, you spoke a bit about making the decision to invest in renewable energy, namely solar. And I'm wondering how you, as a small business owner, were able to make that project happen, and then maybe expand a little bit about other energy efficient projects you have in the works.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like when we got this property, am I off mute? Yes, I'm off mute. When we bought this property, the roof was just like perfect for solar, and given like what we're all about, we thought like this is an absolute no-brainer. And I know a couple other folks, like Scott just talked about, we just talked about Revision Energy, a couple people, and we work with Revision. And the great thing about that partnership is that they helped us get a solar rebate from the state of New Hampshire, which was like $62,000. We got a federal REAP grant from the USDA, which is huge. The federal tax credit and accounting for depreciation. Our array's been here, let's see, probably just about 5 years. And I think it's paid for itself already, given all of that. So not only is it something that we're pretty excited about, because obviously it lessens our carbon footprint, but it is also a pretty good business decision for us. So in terms of other things that we do, like our farm is a kind of a cool example of sustainability, and you can't get a lower carbon footprint than like one of our farmers walking in a whole like barrel of kale to the kitchen, right? As opposed to like showing up in a truck from gosh knows where. So there's a lot of things we're doing around like reusing water, composting, giving our spent grain to cows and pigs, and including our own pigs. And we just keep on trying to work on efficiencies in other products to help in our sustainability efforts.
That's great. Thank you for that answer. And I hope it gives other people listening some ideas of where they could find helpful dollars to make their energy dreams come true. Let's turn back to you, Marty. You said that a major piece of your mission is to help grow the next round of environmental stewards. Can you discuss what you're doing with that and why the implications might be as it pertains to what the implications are as it pertains to energy and climate?
Sure. So originally the Mill City Park concept was supposed to be all encompassing with Outdoor New England. Outdoor New England is the closest whitewater retailer to the city of Boston. We take people whitewater rafting, we teach whitewater kayaking. But early on, it was evident, even though I didn't have that experience, that it's really difficult to fund a retail store that wants to take people whitewater rafting with a development company that wants to build a free park for everyone with no ROI to an individual. And so we had to split the mission up right in the beginning into the two businesses. And it was always really important for me personally. I didn't find whitewater paddling and I didn't get to go to all the many places paddling has taken me until later in my life. But I do remember kids in school who didn't play team sports. That wasn't their thing, but they might have swam at the Y, right? Or competed in different programming. And I remember, even though I liked team sports, that was really interesting to me. And it wasn't until later where I started paddling and going these places far away where you're out in the woods. And that's where I became more of an environmentalist. And certainly today, you could say that the world needs more environmentalists. And so how do you create them, right? What's the path? It's kind of different for everyone. But what I know from my experience and now raising my two kids is the more experiences they have outside that they're proud of, right? Where they feel pride and self-confidence, the closer they get to the natural world and make a connection. And so even though it's just whitewater paddling, right? And we're tying people into skirts and flipping them upside down, right? I do think by exposing the youth to these programs, especially for kids in Franklin, in the region who may or may not have these opportunities, right? They are getting attached to the world around them. They are getting attached to their community. And so I think the implications of that could be huge when we're planting that seed at such a young age.
I think that's a great answer. I have 3 little kids and I can see how much they grow when they experience new things right here close to home. And it's a reason why our state park system, tries its very best to be accessible to all and not just wealthy folks who can go across the world to get these experiences. But we can do it right here in New Hampshire. So thank you. So Shannon, what other types of outdoor recreation projects are you seeing coming to fruition across the state? And what opportunities are they providing our communities and how are they integrating energy considerations? It's a lot.
Yep. No, that's a great question. Thanks. So yes. Okay. We have seen so much interest in trails lately, which, is probably unsurprising to most, but especially in COVID, we looked at some data. Searches for hiking trails in New Hampshire have been up 57% this year compared over previous averages. We see, just looking over, participation in hunting and fishing, obviously increasing as well. And many communities, right, in New Hampshire have a trail. It doesn't have to be a 4,000 footer. It can be a community trail that's a couple miles, a river walk that's a mile, a historic pathway. So many communities are looking for I'm not an expert in building trails, but how do I take that trail and connect it? Our downtown is suffering a little, or we've had some store closures. How could we bring those two pieces together? And so we do some assessments and some economic analysis around those to support some of that decision-making around trails. Definitely. Franklin and Marty is a great example of rivers. I'm going to pop in the chat in a minute. We have an info brief on that, on rivers and economic development, and those key characteristics that communities are trying to, take. For example, in that brief, we look at Nashua with a bigger Riverwalk initiative, but also a really small town like Wilton that has a 1 mile Riverwalk, which is just as exciting. And then, you know, there are some examples of, you know, where a larger initiative, some folks might be familiar with Trail Finder. We have been working with them and kind of trying to get businesses onto Trail Finder. So when folks look for trails, they're also looking for that brewery or something to do afterwards, and where is it in proximity. But during COVID especially, Trail Finder has encouraged hiking locally, which I know the state has as well. And that has an energy impact, right? It reduces our travel and emissions related to that and helps people discover what is right in their backyard. And just kind of one final piece, we've been doing some work in Ossipee, and they are thinking about their village center. And one thing they would love to have a trail, they have a rail bed, they would love to have a rail trail through it. But one piece to that is they need some lighting. And right now they're doing a grant process to get some LED lighting, and they're particularly focused, you know, on getting the energy efficient kind of lighting for those savings, and also to improve those community vibrancy pieces. So lots of fun examples.
That's great. The Bureau of Trails is part of the Division of Parks and Recreation. So we have a staff that is monitoring and helping local clubs manage the thousands of miles of trails in New Hampshire. And let me tell you, we rely on local clubs and local volunteers to help get the job done, because it's really important to maintain these trails as they're getting more and more usage. Speaking of trails, let's turn to the ski industry, Jessica. The ski industry has been with us for a long time in New Hampshire. It's part of our culture, it's part of our history. Let's talk a little bit about the future. You're at the whim of Mother Nature. You touched on that a little bit, but you know, as sort of the hub of the ski industry, what are folks doing to prepare for you know, climate changes and to maintain a thriving ski industry with sort of an unknown for the weather in the future? If you could touch on that a little bit more, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So I think that there's a lot of things that skiers are doing and have been doing over the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years to try and adapt to, you know, a changing climate and just adapt to changing things that people are doing. You know, one of those things, of course, that I talked about earlier, snowmaking, that's been a hugely important thing to ski areas for a long time. And being able to sort of keep up with, you know, what's really kind of a shortening winter season. You know, we have less windows of opportunity to make snow. So far, the technology has kept up with that, and that's really important. But, you know, we'll see if we get to that point, are they going to be able to keep up as we see these shorter and shorter windows? Right now, it's amazing what they can make in a really short amount of time. But, you know, that's definitely something that we're keeping an eye on. But other things, you know, we have really expanded into the summer months as well. And it makes a lot of sense. It's not just a climate related thing. It's also just a function of economics, right? We have these base areas with bathrooms and lodge space and beautiful mountain views. And so, you know, we've seen a whole host of different activities that are being done there. So whether it's, you know, hosting weddings and conferences, or, you know, installing mountain bike trails, lift service mountain biking, there's mountain coasters, there's, you know, treetop climbing courses, there's a whole host of different things that are going on. And we are definitely seeing more and more people coming up during the summer months for that. And it's often a different clientele too. We'll see different people come to our ski areas during those times. So those are definitely some really important ways that we're adapting. And we have seen, like, if anyone remembers the winter of, I think it was 15-16, it was, you know, we had like 60-degree weather on Christmas Day, and which was not ideal for us, and, you know, not a lot of snow. And some of the ski areas actually opened their summer operations for guests, you know, who hadn't canceled their plans, or, you know, people who were in town. So, you know, having those options is definitely an important way for us to adapt. You know, and ski areas, we're not a big emitter of greenhouse gases or carbon dioxide, you know, especially as we get more efficient, you know, with the snowmaking. So I think it's going to be interesting to see sort of where the country goes and the world goes, really, as far as like reining those things in so that we can, try and pull back on some of those climate change impacts and make sure that we continue to keep having a ski season.
Well, I appreciate it as a skier. And I saw that, it snowed today where I am here in Northampton. So you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to throw one out there to the group. I'm going to start with you, Nicole, and let's turn a little bit more towards the tourism aspect and maybe help us thread the needle here between tourism and the energy and environment and recreation. So we have all these buckets that we've touched on individually. As you're a business owner and you see people coming from all areas, all walks of life to your brewery, what do they say when they see the solar array, or how do you explain to them, your mission, and how does that connect with people?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like a surprising number of people don't see it because it melds so perfectly into the roof line, which I'm actually okay with, but people that have an eye for that, I think, get really excited about it. And I think people also, well, it's funny, like I'm just a firm believer of like you as a business, like you put out like your values and what you stand for, and you get a certain following based upon that. Those are like your core customers that really resonate and sort of have, you have a common vision together. And so it's those customers really that that love when we say like, hey, this beer was made with like, well, it's gone, but this beer was made with like 100% grain from the Northeast grain shed, or it was made with hops from our hop yard. And it doesn't resonate with everyone, but I think we're just lucky in being vocal about who we are, that we do have a core set of customers that what we're doing really matters to them. I can expand upon anything.
No, that's great. I think I love hearing that story and how it's so true and authentic to who you and your team are here at Throwback. Let me ask you, Marty, your audience up there in Franklin is both local, very much so, and you're going to be bombarded with people from all over the country. So what are you excited to showcase in terms of energy efficiency and environmental concerns that you're working through?
I think I touched upon it a little bit in the opening of the presentation. If you're a community who's using the natural world for tourism, it would be extremely unauthentic to not then take care of those pieces, right? I have to say, I think there are communities that do just that. Not so much in New Hampshire, but around this country, in which we exploit things, but we're not restoring them or not stepping it up to a level where they regenerate. In Franklin, it's pretty exciting what's happening. We're a really small community, and so it's really easy for me to reach out to the developers of mill buildings and to utilize the same partners for multiple projects. And so although that little plot of land I showed with our solar array is pretty small, it's, I think, just under 1.5 acres. Chimberg Properties is now also using OTG consultants and Revision Energy for their mill building, which is the largest project in Franklin's history, both from a cost standpoint and also from a square footage at 189,000 square feet. So like having these partners, right, prioritize solar panels and trees back on our sidewalks, right? The idea of composting toilets, which will be inside of Mill City Park, bringing to light these permaculture principles, which is the backbone of the park, really showcases us as being authentic. We're not saying one thing and doing something else. We have kind of the luxury and the curse of being a nonprofit, which means we can be authentic as long as we then go find the money, which is always a challenge. But it just takes time, right? I think those things are really important. I think that they showcase us in the right light. And then when we mix that together with EV charging stations inside the park, right, we're marketing to our customers wherever they're coming from, like, hey, we're giving these people priority because they're doing the right thing. And doing the right thing here matters.
Very cool. So we're coming close to the end. I'm going to let Jessica and Shannon speak in a second, but I just want to remind people that if you have, I just got the winners right here. So there's no time to enter any more raffle tickets. I'm going to announce this at the very end. So be ready and waiting. We didn't get many questions in the chat, but that's okay because all of these questions I think are shining a really good light on what we wanted to accomplish today in this conversation. So let's give you, Jessica, a chance to touch on the question that I posed about tourism and maybe just highlight a couple of the mountains that you see them sort of clicking when it comes to showcasing their passion for the environment and energy.
Yeah, well, there's a couple that come to mind to me, a few actually. One would be Great Glen Trails, which is also part of the Mount Washington Auto Road, which is like their summer operation. They've done a lot. They're one of the nominees for Energy Champion for this year. So tune in tomorrow, little plug there to find out if they won or not. But regardless, they've done a ton of different things to really be, showcase just what great stewards of the environment they are. They're the ones with the hydro facility. They've erected a new hotel in the last few years that has all kinds of wonderful efficiencies there. They've got EV chargers. They've done things even for the vehicles that drive to the top of the mountain to try to make those more energy efficient. I think everyone's just waiting for buses and shuttle vans to become electric. And, I'm sure when they do, they'll be driving those to the top of the mountain. So they've definitely done a lot of things to be efficient. And Cranmore Mountain too, up here in North Conway, they've done quite a number of things. I would say like everyone, especially all the alpine areas, they've done a lot with snowmaking. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that's a huge thing. It's not very sexy, to talk about, but it's a really important piece of using less energy. But they've also done things with like heat pumps they've got a lot of new buildings, a lot of new infrastructure, and they're really trying to incorporate energy efficiency into their operations as well. Pat's Peak down in Henniker, every year they're doing more and more as well to try and incorporate these different elements. And I do know, I saw someone from Loon had posted something about they have some plans that they're working on their path to 2030. And, I know that I think they have some goals to be net zero by then. So they haven't announced what those plans are yet, but I can't wait to hear about them and, kind of shout them out to the world. I think this is, kind of the way the industry is heading, I'd say industry wide, in the state, but across the country, there's more and more focus on, needing to protect our winters and, keep going. We all want to have a ski season, and winter is important for other reasons, even if you don't ski. So yeah, a lot to talk about. And hopefully I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in the future.
That's great. That's good to hear. Shannon, I'm going to let you wrap up this question with the last 2 minutes from your perspective.
Sure.
If you could share a few thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I'll be brief. There's been such great conversation so far. Yeah, so it's really interesting to see the variety of ways communities embrace tourism and outdoor recreation when they think about economic development. And we really work with communities where they are on that. And some communities want a lot of visitors, some are hesitant, and some don't even know about their visitors. So we actually do some survey work, train volunteers to survey their visitors to see what they're up to and what they're doing. But as it relates to energy, I was thinking about what Nicole said about putting your values out there. And I think from that community perspective, many of the ones we work with have that same mindset where they want to showcase, that they are, if they value their natural assets and their people and making those connections, they want that for their residents, but they also want their visitors to enjoy it. And maybe they see their visitors as potential new residents or entrepreneurs to start a business, in their downtown that might be struggling. So I think there's a really neat synergy going on there across recreation, tourism, and sustainable energy. And I'm just excited to keep hearing more about it.
Me too. And I hope that everyone who is listening today gets more excited and shares some of these ideas. And, you know, when they visit places, ask questions about the energy use and ask questions about, you know, climate and the local environment and the impacts that people are having. And the more we talk about it, you know, the better off we are. So this conversation, it has been great. I know it's been recorded, so it will be shareable. And without further ado, I'm going to announce the winners of our raffle drawing. All right, if I had a drum, I would drum it. Okay, so we're going to start big. The whitewater rafting trip for 2 from Outdoor New England is Lauren Banker. Yay! We have the North Face ski boot bag from Ski NH. That is going to Mary Ann McCaslin. Thank you, Mary Ann, for adding your name. Another item from Ski New Hampshire is the North Face Flyweight Backpack. Wow, that goes to Stephanie Verdile. Thank you, Stephanie. And we have a hat from Throwback Brewery, and that is going to Sarah West. So I think it's all 4 women that get prizes today. That's pretty awesome. Happy Earth Day from Mother Earth, right? Thank you all for participating, for listening. I'm going to offer to throw this back to throw this back to our hosts if there are any final words or acknowledgements that I may have missed. But I really appreciate the opportunity to get to know these panelists better and to share some time with you. Oh, I think.
Great, thank you so much, Sarah, for hosting today. And we dropped some links in the chat for you to sign up for tomorrow's Energy Champion Award event if you'd like, and if you would like to take a look at some of the recordings of our past events. So thanks so much and take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.